You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Moguls, Local Gold, Chiro Thin, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, and Chiropractic Rocks. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 152 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Haasseem Mohammed, and if you want to know more about chiropractic biophysics and some miracle stories, stay tuned. This is episode 152, and today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Haasseem Mohammed. I've been looking forward to this for a while. We met you down in Scottsdale, Arizona at the CBP annual symposium, and we had a great interview together, and it did really well. So thank you for being our guest today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we had quite the pre-interview chat with you, catching up on life. And, if you guys didn't know, Dr. Haasseem did his early studying with Deed Harrison. And I kind of want to lean into that as an opener for you. Is what is your chiropractic story and what inspired you to become a chiropractor?
Thanks again for having me. I appreciate you guys, taking the time to do this for the chiropractic profession, which you do great work. So certainly appreciate you. I was a massage therapist for like 12 years. And then, I worked for chiropractors, and I worked with a guy named Dr. Steve Isaacs. And, when I saw people crawling through the door and walking out, it was blown away. And then I worked for Dr. Nathan Kainer, and he's the one who really told me about CBP. And encouraged me that, both of them really pushed me to go to school. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm from Trinidad, from a very poor family there. Nobody ever got the chance to go to college. So I was the first one to get that opportunity and really go to chiropractic school. So I was willing to do whatever it takes to be amongst the greatest to ever do it. I didn't care what part of the world I had to go. I didn't care what I had to do. I knew I had a chance just by being in the United States of America, to really do whatever it is that you can dream of. And that led me to work with, some of the really greatest people who Danny Actor in Orlando, he had a huge practice. That guy is driven. He was seeing I think at one point, 800 people a week, something ridiculous like that. And Dr. Curtis Fedorchuk in Atlanta, worked for him for a little bit. He really dug into the CBP. And then that pushed me to go take some seminars for Deed out in Idaho. Met Dr. Charlene, realized she was running the show at the Ideal Spine Health Center. And I just nagged her until she finally decided, that she was going to give me the opportunity to do my internship out there. But what an opportunity that was, man. Working with Deed, in the clinic, but he wasn't there a lot. But the times that he was there, it was fun. But Dr. Joe Betts, I don't know, have you ever had a chance to interview Dr. Joe?
I have not interviewed Joe, but I hear great things about him. That
guy is, when you dig into something, sometimes you start doing stuff and you realize that the people are scumbags and they're just in it for the money or something along those lines. Not the case there. When I was there, I had Dr. Joe Betts, who was the president of the ICA Association at the time, and I think president of the Idaho Chiropractic Association, and he co-wrote a lot of the books. He's works with Scully Care. I know he's a representative in the United States with Scully. This guy was doing so much, and I'm like, what drives you? And really, with him, Dr. D, Dr. Charlene, Dr. Todd Pickman, they were all they wanted to leave the world a better place. They wanted to improve the professional chiropractic. They really weren't just about getting people out of neck pain, back pain. They were really driven to improve people's quality of life for the rest of their life. Once I got a taste of that and saw what they were really made of, I was like, okay, I gotta I got to live this, breathe this, eat this, dream this, so I moved out there, and it was incredible. Made some great friends, really some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. And then once I felt like I learned enough, got my advanced certification, then I decided to bring that back to work in South Florida, back with Dr. Nate, who I started with. And he gave me an opportunity to build a practice in his office. So it's been incredible. Having my family to pushing me behind this the whole time. They were all super excited, super proud. So it's been fun.
Well, let me ask you, I know a lot of people out there, they might not know exactly what CBP stands for. We talk in acronyms any chance we get to, we try to shorten everything. Talk to people a little bit about the uniqueness of what chiropractic biophysics is.
CBP, chiropractic biophysics, is the understanding that the body has a normal alignment, and any deviation from that normal alignment puts abnormal stresses and strain on the spinal cord. So the foundation of chiropractic, right, is that the body heals itself. It doesn't need any help. It just doesn't need any interference. So if you're going to talk about interference and they talk about the body can't work properly, then you have to understand what is working properly, right? So in addition to traditional chiropractic techniques, traditional ways of adjusting, CBP adds in specific types of traction to stretch the ligaments, and then they give you specific types of exercises to strengthen your body into that position. And then you actually give that person the best long-term outcome. So the differences that we see and the things that we hear day in and day out, everybody's like, I've been seeing chiropractors for 20 years and nobody's ever showed me anything like this, and the one thing that I kept hearing being in these offices is that people get a life and an energy and a vitality and a quality of life that they've never even dreamed of. Not that I'm out of pain, not that, hey, I'm doing better, but I can do things that I've literally never done before in my life, that I would have never thought that I can do in my life. So when you keep hearing those things from working with these people, it just drove me to I got to get this. I got to learn this.
Yeah, and as you've gone through the ranks of learning from some of the greats, as you mentioned earlier, what would it be like if all chiropractic schools maybe adopted this program into their protocols? What would it do for the student?
I was fortunate that I was exposed to it before I ever even got into school, and I knew that that's the direction that I want to go. But it's very unfortunate right now that a lot of schools don't even offer it as an elective where people can get that exposure. So if they did get that exposure, that one of the biggest things that I saw from students who did end up taking the class was, oh my God, why didn't I get this sooner? This takes everything and pulls it together and gives you an understanding of the body, which is why I went to chiropractic school. Like they showed me all the problems with it, but they didn't necessarily show me what to do about it. So I think it gives them a sense of purpose. It gives them a sense of making a difference, beyond anything else that they would have gotten in their entire chiropractic education.
So do you have any favorite motivational quotes or mantras that keep you ignited and passionate every day about what you're doing?
I guess when I left Idaho, Dee just told me I expect great things out of you. So as simple as that is, I feel like that's the way I am with my patients. That's the way I am with my people. I have a higher expectation of my patients. I don't expect my patients to be the normal person walking through the door. I expect them to understand what's really going on. I expect them to understand how their body works. I expect them to want to be better, to be the best version of themselves. So yeah, I just higher expectations, I guess, raising their standards.
Yeah, I think, when you get a chance to work with greatness like Deed, and you get a chance to go out there and to practice and to change people's lives with your skill sets, I think there's some type of responsibility there.
Oh yeah. And Dr. Joe Betts and Charlene Harrison and those guys spent the most time with me teaching me that stuff. But the one thing that I saw them do was that genuine care and compassion. They would show up early and leave late. They would close the practice for people who they knew, not because they were getting paid any exorbitant amount of money, but because they knew that those people would not have the same quality of life. I watched Dr. Joe close his office at 6:00 on every week, blocking off all other patients just to see this one patient and he would spend an hour with her. And she was on crutches, but apparently before she was on crutches, walking with her hands and being able to move her legs, she was in a wheelchair for many, many years before she saw him. And the treatment that he would do, we won't do with anybody else. And I asked him, well, why do you do that? And he said, because she wouldn't be able to do what she's doing now if we didn't. She wouldn't have the quality of life. And he said, Don Harrison told him that you have your practice and then you have your separate practice, your special practice, where those people's lives would be very different, if you weren't there. So when you see that kind of genuine compassion, and joy and knowing you can make a difference, you can't leave there doing anything else.
Well, one of the things you mentioned earlier is, you come from Trinidad and you're the first doctor in your family. And I think I asked you this in our first interview down in Scottsdale. What does it mean for you as, being a chiropractor and a doctor to your family? What does it mean to you as being the first?
Oh man, like you talk about seeing people happy, I think the day I got I graduated, I don't think I've ever seen my friends and family happier for anyone or more proud. And, going through that process, coming from a very poor family, it certainly required a lot of help and a lot of, people supporting me, pushing me to really become the best version of myself and constantly striving to improve. Because a lot of times while you're in there, you don't believe you can do it, so without that support I have such a huge family, that all my brothers, all my sisters, all those times when I didn't have $1, to buy food, everybody somehow just shows up, and they were there for me. So it's incredible. And now, since then, I have some cousins that are more like brothers and sisters. We grew up in the same house together. And Shalinder is working out with Dr. Joe Betts now. He just graduated, so he's a doctor as well. And his sister, Nalini, she's a dentist. So I like to say I was the first, fully expecting that there were going to be many others after. So it's been going pretty amazing so far.
That's a really cool story. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah. It's I'm very, very, very proud of them.
So how do you think the world would change if more people got under consistent chiropractic care?
I think if that was the case, we wouldn't have this hysteria that we currently have with the coronavirus. Why is 99% of the people, getting better? Not just coronavirus, but any virus, bacteria, fungus. Why is it that in the same exact household, everybody's living, breathing the same air? You might be sleeping in the same bed with somebody, and you get sick and they don't, or the other way around. If the virus makes you sick, or the bacteria makes you sick, or the fungus, or whatever it is, well, why does that happen? So I think everybody would understand that it's your health, that keeps you sick or well, that makes the difference. And being healthy is definitely their most valuable asset. And people would work harder in order to maintain that and be more consistent, rather than being reactive and just waiting for something to happen and then trying to pull themselves out of a hole. I think that proactive mindset, or if something happens, and you like you got injured, now if the more you understand exactly what the problem is, the better you'll know what you need to do in order to fix it. So really giving people the ability to understand in detail exactly what's going on, gives them the best chance of fixing it, making it better, and coming out stronger, and really keeping themselves healthy.
So where do you see chiropractic heading in the next 20 years?
I know that's a sad state of affairs, man. It's based on what the ACA has done, and seeing that they're the largest chiropractic institution, and what a lot of the schools are doing with not taking x-rays. I'm hoping some new leadership steps in that says it's ridiculous to try to just go, manipulating people's nervous systems without knowing what's underlying. You'll never go to a dentist and he kind of touches your, oh, I think you have a cavity right here. That feels like it's really deep. We're going to have to do a root canal. You don't do anything. Even coronavirus, they do tests. There's things that they do in order to quantify what's going on or know what the problem is. But yet my profession is choosing to go the complete opposite direction. I think the last couple of years, they've taken us back, 20. Everything that the people who came before us fought for in order to keep our profession alive, I feel like they're undoing with the direction that they're taking. But fortunately, we have people like the Joe Betts, Deed Harrison, Curtis Fedorchuk, who are publishing, work showing that we can make changes in people's quality of lives. So I think the more people step up and hopefully step into those places like these guys that we're doing, it might actually be a good thing. So
the convexity of that question is, what do you think is the most important thing to happen to chiropractic in the past decade?
In the past decade, I would think the amount of research that has come out, it has really changed the spectrum a little bit, where you go from being just quacks, like they were saying that these guys are quacks, they have nothing to support what it is that they're doing. Where we're actually doing a better job of publishing the research, good quality research. I mean, the stuff that, and going back to CBP again, the reason I'm involved in that is because they have more peer-reviewed quality research data than any other technique that exists on the planet. So it's reliable, it's reproducible, and a lot of other people in the profession, not just in CBP, are putting out more data, which is why now the national guidelines would include chiropractors specifically as essential workers, because they know that we can help people with these musculoskeletal issues rather than bombarding, the healthcare system that's just trying to deal with corona.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to, let people know why research is important. But one of the things I've seen recently is chiropractors are saying, yeah, we help boost immunity, we help boost nervous systems. And I think a lot of times people think about that and they're like, well, show us the research. Well, if you want to really, I'm not asking you to answer this, but I'm saying as a statement that if people really want to know how the immune system functions off of the nervous system, out of the spinal canal, and how that has a direct influence on the organ systems and the organ tissues and the cells, then they need to go to Grey's Anatomy, and they need to go to what the other people that sell the other stuff do and how they get their information. So if you really want to find like the baseline of information and the, if you will, the holy grail of like the standard, then go to Grey's Anatomy and see how the nervous system has direct influence on the organ system and how that has an influence on the nervous system and immunity. So that's really what we need to go back to. And we need to, show people that this is the truth of how the body actually functions and work. It's not a chiropractic proof to show, it's a medical proof to show. And when chiropractors take the medical proof and say, hey, this is what we're doing, you guys believe in this system, right? Okay, well, then you believe in our system too.
Right. I mean, like you're saying, that the basics of it, it seems simple, but you have a better understanding of how the body functions than most, right? So it seems fairly common sense that if your nervous system is working better, that your immune system is working better. But what they're saying is true. We don't have a lot of good quality peer-reviewed studies showing exactly, specific markers in the immune system that improve. There's a few, but obviously when you're looking on a national database, we're very low on that. So that's more needs to be done there in order to actually show direct correlation. But the overall function, we can definitely point to, like you're saying, how people under chiropractic care have better qualities of life. They take less medication, they're less hospitalized, they have less surgeries, they live better qualities of life. We have tons of studies showing that. So you can definitely look at those and say, well, look at the data. This is what it's showing. But there's that indirect correlation there that we're proving.
Well, chiropractic's all about longevity and outcome.
Right.
And there's no study that can prove that, somebody has a better quality of life with longevity and outcome unless they're consistently under care. And I think that's what we need to use as our thunder, if you will, and say, hey, our thunder is longevity and outcome. When people are under our care, we know that people have a better quality of life, and that's the outcome. If you guys want to investigate the numbers and the strategies and the research, and you guys want to discredit us, then you guys aren't interested in real healthcare. You guys are interested in statisticians. You guys are interested in stats. You guys are interested in studies and trying to discredit people that are actually out there doing good. And that's what gets me going, is it hits a trigger in me to say, hey, I know that chiropractors are saving people's lives from drugs and surgery. If you want to have less drugs and surgery in your life, you should probably be under chiropractic care consistently from cradle to grave. Right.
Well, I mean, that's you can go to any chiropractic office and you'll have every single patient in there saying exactly what you said. So the problem was, just like from the beginning, where there wasn't a lot of research, good quality peer-reviewed research showing that, because the doctors are busy taking care of people. They're busy, helping people improve their qualities of life. So I definitely think that as a profession, we need to group together. And Dr. Curtis Fedorchuk is doing kind of some of that with some of the things that he came out to actually try to quantify people's qualities of life, and be able to pool all of that into a national database. And then we'll be able to publish some of these things coming in the future. So I definitely think all of it is good. It'll only push us to come up with better ways of designing and be publishing more research, in order to show those direct correlations. And I think once those things do get published, there's nothing on the planet that can compare to people who are really educated, in their health and how their body functions and how chiropractic can improve that.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Moguls, Local Gold, Chiro Thin, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, and Chiropractic Rocks. Let's hustle. Well, the reason that chiropractic works so well is because even the people that are administering the other type of healthcare, they want chiropractic in their life.
Yeah.
And the reason that it works so well is because you don't have to, as Bob Dylan would say, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows.
Right.
And
well, the results speak for themselves, right? But having the research does help. The word of mouth, like we were talking about before, I don't market a lot. Just having the training and having these wonderful people show me, teach me how to try to help people improve their bodies has made me very fortunate that just the word of mouth has kept me very busy. And when people see differences, one day I came out from my office and I have a little small traction area right in front of where I am. And I looked and I had 5 people set up on traction, and 4 of them were doctors in different fields, who basically heard from one of their patients or one of their colleagues or friends about the changes that we were having. And it really brought tears to my eyes, and I was so grateful for the all of my teachers, who to give me the opportunity to learn how the body really functions, and then now take that knowledge and try to help people understand that. So it's really, I think, a wonderful thing that if these students that are coming out from school can dig in and really just try to be the best doctor they can be, I think it'll definitely lead them into learning more about chiropractic biophysics.
So tell us, who are some of your chiropractic heroes? Who do you look up to?
Um, Obviously, all the BJ, starting back with DD and BJ. If they didn't do what they did, then we won't exist as a profession. This sacred knowledge won't even, nobody would know what's going on. All of the people who really fought for the chiropractic profession. They were talking about people going to jail, for chiropractic, and now we didn't know whether or not we're allowed to be open or not. And I heard in some of these Facebook groups, I saw them like, they're like, I guess it's my time to go to jail because I'm going to keep serving the people. But like Dr. Steve, I would never know about chiropractic if it wasn't for him. Dr. Nate pushed me. I was working for him, which he's really a wonderful man. I was working for him as a massage therapist. I was booked up solid for weeks in advance. And for him to keep pushing me to become a chiropractor, he would just always say, you'll never be happy until you're the doctor. So it wasn't about me because I was making him money. He was booked out weeks in advance. It was certainly a sacrifice for him, but I hope it paid off because I came back and I've been working with him now for 5 years. And we're really seeing changes that we've never been able to see before. And then obviously, the Deed Harrison, Joe Betch, Shelly Harrison, Curtis Fedorchuk, the things that the way that they think was really what I was interested in. What drives them? What makes them so much better than everybody else that they work with? Why are people driving, 2 hours to come to their office? Why are people flying in from other countries to see them? And it's just because they work harder. They care more. So
you touched a little bit on research, you touched a little bit on inspiration, and you touched a little bit on leadership. Let's talk philosophy for a little bit. Who do you look to as like your philosophical leaders?
I would say, I guess the same folks. Chiropractic is that 3-prong approach, right? Philosophy. What's the rest?
Science and art.
There you go. I appreciate you. And so I think, you have to have that balance. When I was in school, I met a lot of people who talked a lot about philosophy. Met a lot of people who talked a lot about science, met a lot of people who talked about art. And I certainly felt like unless you had that balance to back it up, because the people who were just talking about, the philosophy, they might not necessarily have known how to adjust or what they're adjusting, or even if what they're doing is making a difference. They just kind of believe that you put that power in, and there's certainly something to that, right? And the people who talked about the art, I remember I took every seminar that I could, from BGI, Activator, Arnaud Bernier, where he really talked about connecting with the body. So it's definitely something to that, and the way that you adjust. And then the science part, the majority of that I got from the CBP publications. When you see the things that they do and the differences that they make. Type 1 diabetes, Curtis Fedorchuk published a study on. We're learning new things every single day. We never thought in our life that type 1 diabetes, that you can make a difference with. We were told that you're stuck with that until from the time that you're born, and that's just the way that it's going to be. And then this guy puts people on traction, and he just happened to have a monitor where he's monitoring his blood sugar, and he sees that his blood sugar is going down. He's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? They monitored him, and then they had 4 or 5 people after who had the exact same results by restoring their spine closer to normal, taking pressure off of the spinal cord. So it's hard not to look to these guys for all sorts of inspiration. Science, philosophy, art. I think they really have figured it out and certainly mentored me into trying to do the same thing.
So, of all your years in practice, what is a miracle story that sticks out in your mind that you've seen?
I did a mission trip with down the Dominican Republic. And that's when I was a student. And, you know, you drive into these really poor villages, and then thousands of people show up. And then we had, I think, like 90 doctors and students there. Everybody kind of breaks out their table and just starts seeing people. And this lady came in and she was telling me about her neck hurting, and I adjusted her, and she was, you know, she couldn't believe how much better it was. And then she went and brought her husband back, and you could see that she's really dragging him reluctantly in to come in to see me. And she's dragging him, and he's walking by, and he had his shoulder like this, and you know, he really wasn't moving very well. And luckily I had taken some extremity adjusting before I went, and I just checked his shoulder and I adjusted his shoulder. He's like, ah, you know, and then he kind of made a little face, and I asked him to move his arm, and he went up to here, and he didn't go any further than that. And I showed him that, hey, you can go there now, you know, because you kind of heard it clunk back in. So we tried it, and you can move it up. So then he did it himself, and he brought it up. And as he brought it up to his head, I saw his wife start crying. So when I saw his wife start crying, I realized it's probably something significant. And then as he started moving it, I saw him start crying. And the tears, like, he started hugging her, she started hugging him. They both came and hugged me. And I was like, what's happening? And then she translated to somebody else that he fell off of his bike going to the market. And he hasn't been able to move that shoulder in like 6 months. And he hasn't been able to work, and the family hasn't been able to make any money. And, you know, so of course I start crying. And then they come back like half hour later with a box of mangoes, because that's just all that they had for all of the, you know, the doctors and students that were there. And they're like, take it. We're like, no, take that, sell it in the market. You can ride your bike now and and go. But, you know, that was my first experience. So that always sticks out in my mind. But then, you know, every day in my office, I mean, the things that I see, just sometimes it really just makes me cry. When you look out and you see these people that we're just talking about, when they're sitting in traction, and they're like, oh my God, before I came here, I couldn't walk. You know, I used to drag my leg. I could barely move. Now I'm making 5 miles, you know, walking 5 miles around my neighborhood, you know, and the guy sitting next to her was like, I went all over the world, you know, a Canadian guy. And he's like looking for people to help me with my back pain. And, you know, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then I went to another chiropractor who said, this is more than I could do, you know, so I think you need this guy. And he came to see me, and within a couple of weeks, he said that the pain had gone from a 9 out of 10 to where he can't get out of bed in the morning, down to where it's just stiff and sore, and he can get up and he can function. And the guy bought a house 2 blocks from my office. And he's from Canada. And he's like, I'm just going to come down here for treatment. And when I'm here, you know, and he flies back and forth, and he still sees me till today. And that was like 5 years ago. So he started with a back pain. We didn't even know about the neck pain. And he told me that he was pretty limited in his range of motion. You know, and I asked him in my thing, I asked him, what do you want to be able to do? And that's how I cater my care plan. And he's like, I want to be able to swim. So we were really working on his neck, you know, doing all the different types of traction and exercises, adjusting him, you know, really have him working on it. And he was so excited when he came in, and he told me he made 2 laps in the pool. He says, I still can't turn to the left, but I can turn to the right, and I can breathe, and I can make 2 laps. And then we kept working with him. He went to Canada, he came back, and he's like, oh man, we're starting all over again. But it's still better than where I was. And then within, you know, a few weeks of him coming back, we quickly got back to where we were. And then he's like, Doc, look at this, look at this, look at this. And he's like, I made, you know, 4 laps in the pool. I made 5 laps in the pool. 11 laps, Doc, 11 laps. Every time he comes in, he knows that's what drives me. And all my patients know that. So literally every single day I would have somebody coming in and they're like, check it out, look at me, what do you think, everybody's telling me my tits look bigger, some version of that. Like, I have a lady in her 80s who's telling me everybody's telling her tits look bigger because she's not around it. So she said she lives in one of these communities, and she says that she walks around telling everybody, knockers up, because now she's learned how to stand up straight, and for her that meant knockers up. So it's cool. I love it. It's a great opportunity to share, into these people's improving their qualities of life. It's fun.
It's the funniest thing I've heard all day. So let's talk about you personally a little bit. What books are you in the middle of reading? Do you listen to other podcasts? What are some of your hobbies?
Oh my God. So many books I've started. I have all the CBP books, of course. And if I'm not constantly going back to that, he's going to have my ass. So I got to make sure that I stay up on things, because, I get a lot of referrals from the CBP website. So when people come into my office, they expect a higher level, of quality of care. So I have to make sure that I'm always fine tuning and really doing my best to try to keep them. So all of the new research, I find myself reading more research that's coming out than actual, just being able to sit there and read through a whole book. The Tony Robbins stuff, the self-improvement stuff, I seem to gravitate towards. But what else? The podcast, any of the self-help stuff. I tend to go on TED Talks a lot while I'm driving to work. I'll try to listen to something that has absolutely nothing to do with chiropractic but just, how to just be a better person. Then your podcast, of course, now that I know about them, you have some great guests on there. So I try to tap into that every once in a while when I feel like I need to be dipped into chiropractic a little bit. And what was the other question?
Hobbies. What do you do in your spare time when you're not reading?
I have a baby that's a year and a half old. So I've really been enjoying being dad. I work 4 days a week, 2 full days, 2 half days. So I feel like I've really been able to enjoy all these little landmarks of all these little things that he's doing. So like right now he's figured out that when he says, you ask him if he wants something, and he says no, with this big long trail that everybody laughs around him. And I'm like, oh, so he does it over and over again. No, and he just kind of looks to see if everybody's laughing. So it's fun. I would say that's my number one pastime.
So what are some websites and social media links where people can find out more about you and what you're doing?
My website is chiroboynton.com. We moved from Delray to Boynton. So the office website, the office is Another Level Health, is Delray, chiro.com, chirodelray.com. So that's why I just put chiroboynton.com. And on Instagram, Posture Doc. Facebook, I'm just, Dr. Haasseem. I go by Dr. Haas, by the way, just because Haasseem Mohammed was a little mouthful. Funny story, by the way. The reason when I started working for Dr. Nate as a massage therapist, it was like right after 9/11 time. And for Dr. Steve, sorry. And Dr. Steve told me, when I went in for the interview, he said that, you're very good. We'll give you a call. And I told him, I said, I'm going to get a job today. I have 4 interviews lined up. I'm getting a job today. So just, make a decision, and let me know as soon as possible, please, so I can figure out which direction I'm going. And the guy runs out to the parking lot and he said, listen, you got some of the best hands I've ever had lay on me. And I can't let you go and walk out the door without hiring you. But I have to tell you, your name is Haasseem Mohammed. I have a 95% Jewish clientele. We're in Delray Beach, Florida. I don't know how that's going to play out. He's like, but I got to give it a try. And after a couple of weeks, nobody would schedule with me. And, so the office manager, Terry, who's still our office manager today and looks after me, I call her my office mom. But she said, do you have, I hate to do this, but do you have another name that you go by that maybe we can market you a little better? Fred or Bob, something that's easy. And I was like, well, everybody calls me Haas, at home. And she goes, perfect. Haas. It sounds German. So she just started telling people, hey, we got this great therapist, Haas, you got to try him out. And that seemed to work. And once they schedule with me, then they reschedule with me, so then I ended up getting booked up pretty quickly. So I was able to keep the job. So then when, I just kept going by Haas. So when I came back, they're like, Dr. Haas, Dr. Haas, Dr. Haas. So it just easier to flow. But I also knew that with a name like Haasseem Mohammed, that I couldn't come back to South Florida doing what all other chiropractors are doing. It's such a saturated field. I knew that I had to separate myself from everybody else. And there was no other advanced certified doctor in CBP in South Florida. So I knew that I had to be the first. So that also gave me a little push forward there. It made it a little easier to start.
Well, we are just about at the end of this episode. Is there anything you wanted to discuss we didn't ask you?
No, I just appreciate what you guys are doing. Certainly hope you heal up there, brother, quickly. Certainly take that time. Body does take time to heal. And to everybody out there in going through some difficult times, because we have 10 million people unemployed now. Hopefully you look to the people around you. Hopefully you get the help that you need. And for those of us in fortunate enough to be in a position where we can help those folks, reach out, make a difference. Hopefully this will be short-lived.
Well, I want to thank you for being our guest today. And like we tell everyone, we want you to enjoy the rest of your day.
Appreciate it.
All right, Dr. Haas, we'll see you on the next one.
Love it. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for having me. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, man. Keep serving.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.